This is the intersection where faith, life, and culture meet. I'm Pastor Eric Targe, and I'm here joined by Caitlin Wisneskis. How's it going, Caitlin?
Pretty good, Eric. I'm excited to be discussing Christmas today.
It's Christmas!
Yeah, we're getting close
fun.
to the holiday season. So
Yeah, and I'm here with Justin May, Pastor Justin May.
Hey.
How you doing, Justin?
Hey, pal.
Good Christmas season so far?
Oh, so far so good. I am also excited about this conversation, but I think the audience should know that we have just spent 15 minutes in head scratching, beating our, like, wait, what? Like, this has been
trying to show
bizarre...
what happens behind the...
Yeah, I think people want to know that whatever chaos may ensue in the next few minutes is nothing compared to the chaos
It's
that
going to
ensued
get
before
intense.
this.
There's probably going to be some Googling.
might be some throwing punches.
No. Well, throwing punches.
St. Nicholas!
I love that you brought that up. So today,
Perfect
what
segue.
we're talking about, I'm so glad you said that. We're talking today about, is Christmas pagan? And like, how do we have a worshipful Christmas? So I know
And
that
see, again,
people are
that
like,
wasn't even the title we started with.
What was the title we started with?
Is your Christmas...
Is your Christmas pagan?
No, or is
No.
your Christmas biblical?
Traditions.
Your
Is
Christmas
tradition
biblical. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, first off, let's just say the answer, if you're wondering and you're freaking out, no, Christmas is not pagan, and your Christmas might even be, probably is, biblical. It's funny. The reason I was thinking about this was because I had someone that contacted me for another podcast that I do. I do a podcast with Pastor Philip, as you guys know.
What?
Yeah, it's called Living the Message. Check it out.
You should watch it
I
sometime.
feel like I
Okay.
wish I could put a link like right here. Wouldn't that be cool? I don't think I can do that with YouTube. Maybe I can though, and we'll see if that pops up. Either way,
Leave a comment if it does or it doesn't. Okay.
I don't know. But somebody said, asked a question about like Christmas rituals and different
Sure.
things, but it just didn't really relate to the message. So I thought, oh, that's a good question that we should discuss. And then you brought up punching, which brings us to Santa
Wow,
Claus.
of course.
Right? And so like my daughter, who's almost 5, has been asking me regularly just because of, it's everywhere. She's like, is Santa Claus real? And I'm just kind of like, yeah, Santa's with Jesus right now. He defended the name of Jesus. If you don't know this story, St. Nicholas famously punched Arius in the face because Arius said that Jesus was, do you want to take it away?
Not divine.
Yeah,
He said that he was-
homoi
Right.
ousios instead of homo-ousios, which is just an iota, but it's an important...
It's an important area because
Yeah.
he came from the vantage point that said there was a time when he was not, which is why the original, what is it? Oh man, what is the year? Is it 325? Council of Nicaea, the creed out of that specifically says anyone who says there was a time when he was not is anathema and totally kicked out.
Yeah, so his whole thing was, he said Jesus is like God, but he's not God. And that's where like homoi versus homo comes from, right? So it's the same.
And again, none of this was in
similar.
our prep. This is just
None of this is in our prep. We're just having good conversations. So the conversations today is like basically, are our practices like Santa Claus and other things pagan?
I think that's an important question because for me personally, I have always heard that like Christmas trees, Yule logs, Santa Claus, it's all sort of this like co-op or secular co-op of Christmas where, actually those things are pagan rituals and like Santa's become, this big thing and marketing and consumerism and, the Druids used to set up Yule logs or Christmas trees or whatever. And so should we be doing those things at all? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, Santa Claus is obviously Coca-Cola.
Right.
Of course.
Like in some set, like the modern Santa Claus, the red hat and suit and all that.
100% invented by Coke. Yeah.
Coca-Cola invented that.
And it was great. Like, but to your point, there is a historical St. Nicholas. And there are various legends, there's so many legends that surround the older Christian historical figures, right? As like the medieval Catholic Church took off. And like, oh, by the way, this guy actually had magic powers. Here's a fragment of his shin bone. It'll cure your palsy. Like those kinds of things.
That did happen.
It happened all the time. But that you had palsy cured by a shin bone, or that
No.
the relics
did do that.
Just checking. I didn't know if this was a confession.
People took
But like the
relics.
trees, should we put up Christmas trees?
Yeah.
What is?
So interestingly, I was doing some research on this earlier this week, and we just verified it right before because I wanted to make sure.
Did we
had it
verify
right.
it? We'll find out.
We did verify it. That actually, a lot of people think that the Christmas tree originated, like it's a Western concept and it's pagan. When actually, like we don't know that it's pagan. It seems likely that it maybe even wasn't the idea of the Christmas tree. And then secondarily, it didn't originate in the West. It originated in the East.
Yeah.
And so, like, the first Christmas trees that we have account of are actually in Assyria. And so there's one guy who's called Saint Cosmas the poet. I think we put him back to like the 7th century.
No, you did. I found a totally different Saint Cosmas.
You found a different Saint Cosmas?
From the 4th century.
But Saint Cosmas the poet was around 7th to 8th century. And what he said that as you look at Isaiah 11:1, where it says, "There shall come forth a rod from the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of its roots." He actually interpreted this in a poem, saying that it was referring to the Christmas trees. Like, the Christmas tree reminds us, or rather the Christmas tree is referring to Isaiah 11:1. And he says in his poem that Christ is the blossom which rose up out of the virgin stem from the stump of Jesse. The root is Jesse, David's father. The rod is King David. The flower which came from the root and the rod is the Theotokos, which is another way that people say Mary. Mary is the one who bore the Son of God into the world. And so there's all of this really interesting stuff that you can find all about the Christmas tree. And we see that like some of the earliest Christmas trees that are known of were in like modern day, Iraq and those areas.
Yeah.
So interesting.
So I think maybe it's because I spend a lot of time with high school kids, and I'm trying to think through the lens of like, okay, man, they've got internet access or paying attention to stuff. If you Google, "Are Christmas trees pagan?" or "Are Christmas trees not pagan?" you will find bing, 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 bing. Thing about like, no, it's like 3rd century pagan, whatever stuff. And I have a certain amount of skepticism that there's not a well-intentioned Christian out there going, no, I'm going to find this thing, and we're going to like sort of stretch far enough to try and make it seem like, no, I don't have a pagan thing in my house. When just because something, let's say hypothetically, had a pagan origin, right? It doesn't mean that it can't just be a wonderful part of the tradition, that you as a family have, right? Like, cities, right, begin as an evil pagan thing, right? Yeah. And then look at the end of Revelation.
That's true.
Right? So like I think there's a certain biblical precedent for saying, well, I mean, obviously there's a line where this isn't going to, work. But I think that it's not worth dwelling over to such an extent that you need to like, iconoclastically kick your Christmas trees out of the house for fear that it's remotely tied to something a druid did.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like you can say the same about like the actual day of Christmas, like December 25th, like winter solstice, like, ooh, should we not be celebrating on December 25th? Because that's sort of, did we make up that date? Is that actually when Jesus was born? But I think it kind of ties into the same thing. Like just because at some point, maybe way back when, there was like a pagan association with it, doesn't mean that we have to just throw it all out.
Yeah. And again, that's something that I think is a myth that has gone on, that where people say like, oh, that's what's going on. They were just trying to assimilate to the culture. And I think it's possible that they said, hey, listen, the winter solstice is happening, and we might take some different things and figure out how is it that we can see Christ in it. Sure. But I think it's a stretch to say that alone, that timing of December 25th is a pagan thing for this reason. Saint Irenaeus.
This is where it's going to get weird.
Okay, so Saint Irenaeus. We talked about this before. It does get a little bit weird, but I thought it was interesting for us to realize, and it takes a little bit of mathematics, okay? So first of all, we know that the church had been celebrating for, like, since the 2nd century at least, Annunciation. We know what Annunciation is?
Can I get a recap?
Oh, come on, you know what it is. Tell us, what is Annunciation?
It's, the Annunciation is when it is announced to Mary that she will be carrying Christ.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't need a recap.
Well, I was thinking for the folks at home.
For the folks, but you were able to give it.
Yes, that's true.
And so the Annunciation has been celebrated since.
That's just because you didn't know. I mean, don't.
Okay, look, it's true. It's true. So the Annunciation was actually celebrated since the 2nd century of the church. It was always celebrated in March. On March 25th is actually like the date of Annunciation, where it was announced, hey, you are pregnant with a child, where the angel came to Mary and said that. And then Irenaeus actually did a whole bunch of calculation looking at when John the Baptist was born and other things that were going on, the offering of incense, and tried to figure out, okay, based on like when Jesus would have had to be presented at the temple, when Jesus was basically born. And what he came out to is that it would have been sometime around Yom Kippur. And then with the other incidents happening at that time, he put the date at September 23rd. September 23rd. And so with that being the case, interestingly, December 25th is the date of Christ's conception, according to Irenaeus.
Interesting.
So we're celebrating.
Is
like,
your mind blown yet?
Here we go, people.
Okay.
So the whole idea is December 25th celebrates when God became, became man, right? When God became a person in the womb of a person. Yeah. So just
dude.
kind of wild.
Church history, fun stuff.
It is actually fun.
It doesn't feel as pagan.
Right.
Yeah.
But did Calvin not say that we should not celebrate Christmas because it's Calvin was super anti-Christmas. I have like an ugly Christmas sweater with Calvin, and I actually don't remember what it says, but the whole premise is it's like bah humbug or something because it's not a biblical celebration. It is an event that we take and we celebrate, and his, I think his whole bent was like, let's divorce ourselves from everything that's, not biblical and shed the vestiges of our medieval Catholic background and all those things. But I have to tell you, I'm going to disagree with Calvin on this one.
Yeah.
Spicy.
I know, hot take. I feel like getting people to focus, even imperfectly, on the incarnation.
Yeah.
And the significance of the moment where all of the Old Testament is waiting for this moment, right? Getting to that point where God becomes man. And if maybe you get one person to really think about it once every 5 years in a deep and meaningful way, because let's be real, right? Yeah. Some years, whether you have kids or not, you're gonna just get really caught up in other shenanigans and the travel and maybe it's just a real sad season. Maybe you lose somebody around Christmas time, or it's that first holiday without, that one loved one. It can be a rocky time, but if just a few times you get really sucked into pondering that because of the rhythm of the season, I'd say totally worthwhile.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for Christians to recognize that sometimes we look at anything that was before the Reformation and we just label it the Dark Ages or the medieval ages, or we say words like that's so Byzantine, right? Like we're not going to do that. And lately, I was listening to a really good podcast that wasn't The Intersection, surprisingly,
heresy.
I know. So it's called Undeceptions, and they had a whole session that was just on that topic of the Byzantine era. And Glenn Scrivener, in his recent book, that's also phenomenal, highly recommend it. It's called The Air We Breathe. He was talking about how we sometimes look at the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages before the Enlightenment, and we go, look, all of this was such a bad time, and then finally we figured it out. He's like, that's actually not true. Throughout that millennia, so many amazing things were happening in the church. So many developments were happening, and advances in science were happening within the church. And we need to look at things that happened at that time and not say, oh, because it's old, we throw it away. It's like the church didn't start in 1521 at the Die of Worms when Martin Luther says, "Here I stand, I can do no other." Really getting nerdy here, people. Sorry. But
you're in this far, you may as well stick it out.
Yep.
Yeah, but no, there's history that can be embraced, and there's good stuff that can make Christmas worshipful even from the past. Awesome. And so I think in the second half of our conversation today, I'm excited because our good friend, Pastor Justin and Claire Vander Hart, our women's ministry director, are going to be going around talking to a whole bunch of people, asking how is it that we can make Christmas worshipful?
Among other things.
So,
weird stuff might happen. You don't know.
This has been weird.
To it. Yeah. So let's see how we can make our Christmas worshipful.
Justin,
Claire,
we have a question for our staff.
We do?
But what is it?
Oh man, this is my job? Okay. Okay. No, we actually had planned this ahead of time.
Okay.
We did think about this. So around the holidays, I've got 4 young kids. It's really easy to not actually think about the part of Christmas, right? And so we want to just go around, talk to some of our staff, let some of the people who are watching this get a glimpse behind the scenes, and maybe hear from some of our staff people. And hey, what do you do in order to keep a worshipful heart at Christmas? What are some of the things that like maybe you do or your family does or you wish you did, that help you think about Christ at Christmas? Oh, hey, it's Johnny Huff. Johnny, what are you doing there, buddy?
Oh, just a little light reading.
Oh, that's awesome. John, that looks like a dictionary. Man. Yeah, okay, cool. Glad we found that out. Johnny, you have a family. You love Jesus.
I do.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, do you guys do anything in particular that you're maybe proud of or that you're willing to own up to that help you keep a worshipful heart around the holidays?
Yes. Most importantly, during the season of Advent, we have chocolates. Every day, little chocolates behind the little door in the thing from Aldi.
Nice.
One box for each kid, plus one for each adult in our household. Because that helps us remember the sweetness of Advent and how Jesus comes. And then what we do is we read a verse. We have a little tree that we put an ornament on that relates to the verse. And then we read part of the Christmas story each night as long as it's before bedtime.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Every time I talk to you about parenting, I feel like I'm a really terrible parent, so thanks for that.
It's chocolate.
It's chocolate.
That's the
Chocolate's
key.
the secret. Well, let's see who else is around the office. Let's go that way.
Over here. I found more people. Jordan. Hey, who is this?
This is my husband, Joshua.
Oh, awesome. How do you guys keep a worshipful mindset during Christmas?
I think, go ahead.
One of the ways that we've been finding together to keep Christ in the center of the season is just serving at the church together in the music ministry and also with the kids. It's been really good for us together to serve that way.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We also like hosting people at our house to remind them of the reason for the season, and to encourage them whether they're in a good place or a hard time in the season of Christmas.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys. Let's keep going.
Yeah, let's see who's around. There might actually be an opportunity here. I'm just gonna knock on this door. Hey, sorry for interrupting a really serious meeting. Hey, this is our executive pastor, the Reverend Dr. Bill Birchie.
Don't get any closer.
Bill, you love Jesus. You have a family. You're busy around this time of year. How do you or your family keep a worshipful heart around an otherwise very, very commercialized secular time?
Well, I'll tell you one thing that we do. Who am I looking at?
Camera, really
okay.
good.
So we started to do this Advent, not really a calendar, but it's like a house. And there's little doors in all these houses. And then for years, I'd write a little note from Santa, who in our house works for Jesus. And my wife would put a little gift in there. Sometimes it was candy or something like that. And so our youngest is 16. I'm still doing it for her. So I write her a little letter, encourage her in her relationship with the Lord, and Carmen gets her a little gift. And so that's for us what helps. And we go to church and pray.
We like that last
Read our
part.
Bibles.
That's a good part.
Thank you.
I mean, since you're in here, Pastor Tarj, hey, what do you do around this time of the year?
Oh, dang. Around this time of the year, we always read Christmas stories to our kids. So we read different Christmas children's books. Love Tales That Tell the Truth by the Good Book Company. Last night we did a pop-up book with the kids and Hanukkah celebration with them, going through that story. But yeah, we just try and read as many of those kids' stories telling the gospel as possible.
That's awesome. Jesus celebrated Hanukkah.
Yeah, he did. John 10, baby. John
10. Let's see who else, because people have seen enough of your face. All right. Oh, look. I think Bill Van Tynen's in his office.
Hey, can we come in?
Yeah.
Oh, and Mark Pirie. It's a twofer.
Yeah.
Woo! We have a question for you guys.
Okay.
How do you?
He's the answer, man. He's the answer.
How do you, Pastor Bill, keep a worshipful attitude during Christmas? Keep your mind on Christ.
One of the things we do with our family is we have an Advent book that we try every night to read a part of the Advent story. So there's the Bible verse, and the kids like to open doors, and it's kind of beautiful pictures and stuff. So it's a good reminder of the meaning of the season. And then Christmas music is very encouraging to me personally. So think those
Big
are the
Mariah
two
Carey
ways.
household.
I was gonna say everyone but Mariah Carey because I have a friend who had a bad experience over a Mariah Carey Christmas album. So
Okay.
you can edit that out. But
No, we're not good.
all
That's essential.
non-Mariah Carey Christmas music, I find it encouraging.
Okay.
We'll
Thank
take
you,
the rest
Bill.
offline.
Thank you, Pastor. Well, now, Pastor Pirie,
Yes.
since you're in the office, maybe
Yes.
you could answer the same question.
What is the question again?
How does the Pirie household kind of keep a focus on worship? How do you not let worship escape?
Because the Pirie family is big into music.
Okay.
So we start music, I think, right at Thanksgiving. So I like there to be music in the house from Thanksgiving all the way to Christmas. So the Pirie family is big on music. That's how we do it.
Does that include or exclude Mariah Carey?
Not a lot of Mariah Carey, but there's a lot of Michael W. Smith, a lot of Amy Grant that drives my wife nuts. I'm trying to think who else. And we do throw in a little Andy Williams, if we're allowed to do that, because I love Andy Williams.
I'm pretty confident now anyone watching this can pinpoint your age with sound accuracy. Thank you for those
Burl,
answers.
is it Burl Ives?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Burl, I gotta have some of that. Gotta have
Thanks,
some of that.
Boomer.
Awesome. Well, hey, let's see who else is still around the office before we run out of tape. Do we have tape? It's not tape. Well, now I dated myself. Hey, Miss Wade.
Hi.
What's going on?
What's
Claire
going
has a
on?
question for you.
Christmas.
What do you and your family do to stay worshipful during Christmas?
Oh, this is a Christmas interview.
It is. It is. Pop quiz.
All right. What do we do for Christmas? Well, I remember back in the day, like some sketchy moments of like sledding, and it was dangerous. Some people almost died, but you know, we all made it through. We've decided on a much easier, low-key way now. We do, you know, cookie distributing to neighbors, businesses we frequent. We love doing that. It's, you know, outreach, but also connecting. They see us all year long, so yeah, get some cookies their way. Besides that, Christmas movies. We're big into Christmas movies. It's kind of a way to have that, you know, story of Christmas and giving, but in some new ways. So we love A Christmas Carol. Love that movie. It's a Wonderful Life. Favorite. And then of course, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That's top notch right there.
And
Love
so
that
much Christ imagery not present in that one, but that's fine.
You know what?
Totally...
Let's talk later.
Okay, we're gonna talk later. This is gonna be good.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Liz.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see who's at the front desk. Right?
Yeah,
Maybe
let's do
somebody's
it.
at the front desk.
Anybody over here? Hi guys. Hello.
Oh, hello, friends.
What are you? Oh, hi. What's going on?
Hey, we normally walk around like we do with a camera, so this is normal for you to see. Caitlin and Emily, quick question for you guys.
Sure.
How do you guys keep a worshipful attitude, a heart of worship during the Christmas season?
I normally read through Luke, and yeah, I think it's important to keep in prayer a lot during Christmas. It can get so busy and easy to kind of forget what it's all about.
Man, Emily, the first person to actually reference reading the Bible. We're gonna need to reshoot this whole thing. You were a good hire. Oh, you were a good hire.
Wow. Okay.
Caitlin,
Well,
bar is set high.
I was gonna say, typically leading up to Christmas, we go through like an Advent devotional and like pick a new one every year to kind of go through and read, and make sure to like be faithful in attending worship and especially like the Christmas concert and other things to kind of set the season and keep our eyes fixed on Christ. So that's what the Wisneskis are doing.
Awesome. Good answers all around. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Enjoy sorting the mail.
It is our pleasure and privilege.
Woo! Okay. I think that was hopefully informative, maybe helpful. You may have learned some things about some staff members you didn't want to know or need to know, and you may want to hold over their heads later. That's fine. Closing thoughts?
I love this team. We have a great team, and it's our honor to share Christmas with all of you who are watching.
Yeah. So, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.